Hi, welcome back to Bounce Forward with me, Tiff Hall. I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which I'm recording this podcast, the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. I pay my respects to elders past and present. Ebony, hey Tiff, I saw you recently celebrated your 40th birthday. I'm not too far off my 30th and I'm feeling a bit nervous and like I haven't achieved enough. But I was thinking back to my younger self and wondered, what would you say to your younger self if you could? Imagine writing 16-year-old Tiff a letter. What would it say? And what have you learned along the way? Oh, Ebony, such a massive question. You're turning 30. Oh my goodness. Well, I'm 30 plus 10. That's how I like to frame it. And I'm in my I don't give a era where it feels really nice to just relax into life and not care so much what people think. I think if I was writing a letter back to myself when I was 16, poor 16-year-old Tiff who was just so riddled with self-doubt and like worried about what people thought and had to be a perfectionist and, you know, strive for A+ in everything, I'd just say relax. I would say enjoy your life a bit more. Don't be such a stress head, because I can be a stress head. And celebrate the small wins. I would always be like, oh, I got an A+ on this, and then move on to the next thing. I must strive. I must conquer. I must get perfection. And I never stopped and smelt the roses or celebrated the small wins. I think that's a huge learning across the way. And recently I had a massive win. This little podcast, Bounce Forward, won an award from Radio Today, a Radio Today award. And my team and I, we were just so excited. And I have really stopped to celebrate that and just let it sink in over the last week. Usually I would just move on and whatever, like, you know, but I have loved every second of relishing in that and thinking about how special it is. We're up against some big podcasts, some really established podcasts. And you know, I'm not a podcaster. I'm a trainer. I just tell you what I think and I'm very honest about it. And it really paid off. So celebrate the small wins as you go along. Then I would say to my 16-year-old self, trust your gut. Trust your instincts more, because so many times I did things and it felt wrong, or I wanted to say no, but I said yes. And in saying yes to things I didn't want to do, I said no to myself. And that was harmful for my personal development, my self-esteem. You know, always saying yes and always being a people pleaser isn't good. So listen to your instincts and grow that no muscle. I would say to my 16-year-old self, flex that no muscle. And also be mindful that thoughts become things. I had really bad self-talk when I was 16. I'd put myself down. I was really not good in my head, I think, at talking to myself and pumping myself up. You do have to be a cheerleader for yourself, and thoughts do become things. What you think about comes about, and you really need to be very aware of your thought hygiene and what you're saying to yourself. I'd also say to my 16-year-old self to relax, because 99% of what you worry about never eventuates. And if you think about anxiety is thinking about a future that hasn't arrived yet. Anxiety is something about an imagined future that, you know, just doesn't exist. And I was an anxious teenager. So I would say don't get caught up in worrying about the future. Be in the moment, Tiff. And I'm getting better at being in the moment. And I think having kids has helped me do that. There's a lot of negativity around aging, turning 40. All of my friends were like, ha, 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 the big 40, you know, geriatric, you know, it's time, everything's going to go to shit now, like your body and this and that. And I was really kind of like, why? Why does it have to be like that? You know, I found turning 40 very exciting, and I was in a very good headspace about it. And I think you should be in a good headspace about turning 30. I wasn't thinking about, oh, I haven't done enough, or I'm not where I want to be, or I'm not, financially where I want to be, or all these things that swirl around your head as you get older. I really was proud of how far I had come mentally and physically, and that's all that matters. Like, you in your body and how far you've come. And if you can say that you're a strong person and proud of your character and the way you treat people, then that's a really positive thing. It's not about the externals. I think it's about the internals. Sure, there are things about turning 40 I'm not as happy about, like wrinkles and, gray hair and, being judged by people for not being what you used to be. But that's on them. And I really love the Dr. Seuss quote that the people that matter don't mind, and those that mind don't matter. I probably said that in the wrong way, but you get my gist. It's the people that matter to you the most. They don't care about wrinkles. They don't care about aging. They don't care about the gray hair. They're not looking at you and saying, well, when you were in your 20s, you were, had a six pack and you were at peak physical condition and you did this and you did that. They're looking at you and thinking, wow, you've gone through so much. You've learned so much. You are so wise. And that's what I really wanted. I felt like I was reclaiming a bit of my old self, and I was through that wisdom, if that makes sense. So if I had to say what I'm most excited about aging, it's about reclaiming a bit of my life as my kids are getting a bit older. Veda, she's going to be out of nappies soon. That's a huge win. Any mum knows that. It's like a big milestone. You've kept this baby alive for 2 years through, nappies and the feeding and all of that. And they're now a little person walking around talking, and they're a bit more independent. She's going to classes, and she'll do a little bit of kinder next year maybe. And you start to get your life back. I'm like, wow, I'm podcasting. I'm doing all these amazing things. And Arnold is 7 this year. Like, he's a grown-up little boy, and I adore them. But that when they need you so much as little people, it is really hard to find yourself within that. So I'm slowly navigating some more time for me and learning what my world looks like again, which is crazy. And I'm really looking forward to this era of being more sure of myself. People, it's a liberating feeling. I feel really comfortable and confident in my own skin. And, the more that my body changes, I see it as a positive, because it's the more I can actually help women going through the same thing. So sure, my body has changed through injury, through babies. Sometimes I'll look at photos of my old self and go, oh, that was nice back then. But I have all of these scars and stretch marks and loose skin and all this stuff to help women with. And I'm actually really excited to be entering perimenopause soon, because again, that's a phase where I'll be able to connect with women and help women through training through that phase. Becoming more patient and understanding with myself. And, that's a given. Like, I have had to work on my patience. I am not a patient person. When I want something, I want it now. When I'm doing something, I have to get it done. Like, I've had to work on my patience, and with kids, it's really helped me to become more patient. And I think that's really important. And I think, just to wrap up, when you're turning 30, make sure that you're looking after your own patch of grass. The grass always looks greener on the other side, but look after your own grass. Make sure it's thriving. Cultivate that. Don't worry about what other people are thinking about, saying about you. They're not even saying or thinking about you. Like, they're so caught up in their own worlds. Just always look at your own grass, your own little patch, and prioritize you. You can't pour from an empty cup. And so make sure that you carve out a little bit of time for yourself, and don't worry about where you need to be at 30, because who says there's not a rule book that you need to be here at 30? It's It's an open-ended story that you're writing, and just be proud of how far you've come and look at aging as an exciting time to be wise, to level up, to help other people, and you'll feel really good about it. You've got this. Thanks so much for listening to Bounce Forward. I love having your company, so please DM me and get in touch on Instagram at tiffhall_xo and let me know what topics and questions you'd love me to cover. Don't forget to rate and review me on your podcast app. Speak soon. Happy days.